Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Toya and I'm here to give you my 2 cents on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 13, Episode 8. So the episode starts out back on the bus when the ladies are still traveling to South Carolina for this girls trip. And Portia is still mad that Kenya got to bring her baby on the trip and no one else got the memo. No one else got to bring their children and they're all emotional about leaving their kids and their responsibilities, and how could she have not told them? Candy explains to Portia that, Kenya doesn't have the village that all of us have. Mark is not there with the baby, and even though she might be able to afford a nanny, it's hard to just up and leave your child with someone new that you don't know for 5 whole days. And Portia understands and says, you know what? If she doesn't have anybody, she doesn't have a nanny, she doesn't have a nanny, and that's cool. So they drop the issue. Meanwhile, back in South Carolina, Kenya and LaToya are busy planning a murder mystery for the ladies once they arrive. So Kenya is being told by the person organizing the mystery that the staff, that's going to be serving everyone are actors, and that's how they're basically going to blend into the mystery. Cynthia arrives first because, remember, she wasn't on the bus when everyone else left. She has business obligation or had business obligations. So she arrives first because she probably flew out after the bus. And she gets shown to her room, and she's pleasantly pleased with her room. She says that, the way Kenya's been acting, she thought LaToya would have been the only one getting a nice room, but she was pleasantly pleased and she loved it. The rest of the ladies arrived, and their bus trip took 8 hours from Atlanta to South Carolina, and it was apparently supposed to be a 4-hour ordeal. I don't know why this bus took 8 hours, plus it didn't have any heat. I can't even only imagine what that bus smelled like after they got off. They all get name tags for the murder mystery that's about to occur. And their name tags aren't saying their right names. It's their alter egos that they'll be playing in the murder mystery party. So after they all get their name tags and they get well lubricated, they start out with their shots and their cocktails. Well, everyone except Candy. Candy doesn't drink, so she was sipping on water. So everyone is, turning up and getting lit. And all of a sudden, this lady tumbles in, keels over in the middle of the party. Everybody gets scared. She has what appears to be a knife wound, and she tumbles over and dies in the middle of the party. So they panic a little bit, but not enough for it to be real. But they were still wondering, who the hell is this lady? And why she just tumbled over in the middle of the party. So they figure out that it is a murder mystery. This lady gets up and she says something that's a clue, and at the same time the fake cops rush in, and Portia hops over the couch. Portia thought this was real. Portia been in one too many riots, one too many marches and movements. Portia is scarred. Okay, Portia has some PTSD. Portia hopped over that couch so fast. I mean, it was the funniest thing I've seen on Housewives in a long time. Thanks, Portia. So they keep drinking and solving. Well, really, Tanya, Candy, and Kenya were the only ones trying to solve the mystery. Portia and the rest of them were twerking with the murder mystery cops. They were doing the most. But, like Portia said, she came there to party. She did not want any parts of this mystery. The mystery was a snooze fest, and Portia just wanted to twerk a little bit and drink some. So that's exactly what she was doing. And, Kenya was annoyed during the process, of course. She wanted everyone to take the game seriously. But these ladies was here for the party. They're partying, having a good time. And Portia gets the fake cop to interrupt the serious ones to say, there's some hoes in this house. And Shamia got up off that couch like they rang her bell. Like, Shamia was a dog and Portia blew that dog whistle. Shamia got up and got busy. Shamia got up and it was Let your knees touch your elbows. Shamia was not playing with the girls. So then Fallon shows up, and Portia and Shamia are still drunk, kikiing, breaking lamps and glasses and just acting a fool, but in a fun way. And of course, the older ladies, the TTs of the show, were not here for it. So then LaToya asks Fallon, why are you staying in the villa next door? Why aren't you staying here with us? And Fallon says, well, I brought my husband with me, so it wouldn't be right for me and my husband to stay here with y'all. And then LaToya goes, why did you bring your husband? This is a girls trip. And Fallon is explaining, listen, my husband is my best friend, and we go everywhere together. Where's your husband? Well, Fallon didn't ask to get that, but that's what I was thinking. That's why Fallon got a man. Why don't you stay out of this lady's business? Stop worrying about her husband. Every time you see this lady, the only thing you have to talk about is this woman's husband. Don't you got Kenya's cootie cat to worry about? Don't you have to worry about the sugar daddy that you flew in on? Isn't that something you want to pay attention to instead of this lady's husband? Toya. LaToya. Whew, child. Don't get me hot. You see, I moved my chair over so I'm not directly next to the heat anymore. But don't let me get hot. So then Drew chimes in and Drew says, don't listen to her. She doesn't care about husbands. But Drew been wanting to stick it to LaToya ever since she heard she was talking mess about her wig. She has some pent-up frustrations towards Miss Toya. And we all do. Toya, you coming in a little hot. You coming in a little hot and strong today. Well, every day. But pump your brakes, because you might act up so we pay attention to you. But we might drag your boo, and you don't want to be dragged. I need to stop singing on here. Dragged. All right, that's enough. So then they decide to do a room tour to look at everyone else's room. And they get to Candy's room. And apparently what Drew said out in the living room about LaToya not liking husbands just hit LaToya when they got to Candy's room, because she goes and grabs Drew's arm and says, let's talk about your struggling husband. What do you know about this woman's husband? You have something to say about everybody? How do you know? And more importantly, can I get the tea so I can report it on my channel and get my subscribers up? How do you know? So Drew was like, huh? Not the struggling husband. And by the way, don't grab this arm. Last person to grab this arm ended up with their head rammed in a gate. But you know what, Drew? I would have bought it, but you stuttered on that last part about the head being in the gate. And I'm thinking, if it was a head in a gate, that's kind of dramatic. I wouldn't have stuttered on that part. That part is pretty memorable, one would say. So I don't know that you did that, Drew. But good for coming back. So a few of the ladies saw when it happened, and right away they all got on Drew. Like, listen, they all got on LaToya and was like, listen, you're team too much right now. You can't do that. You can't just be grabbing folks. You can't just be, putting your hands on people and violating people's personal space. And LaToya is there like with this stupid grin on her face, just laughing and like, oh, who did I touch? LaToya was clearly drunk at this point, by the way. And she's not an angry drunk, so I'll give her that. But she was clearly 2 sheets to the wind, okay? Even her bestie Kenya thought she was team too much and was trying to cool the situation, trying to get her to understand her ways and to even apologize to Drew for grabbing that lady. And they continue the room tour, and everyone loves their room, well, except Marlo. Marlo hates every piece of that room. Marlo wants no part of the blue room, and Marlo is like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Because this is not what I've become accustomed to, honey. Who room is this? So Marlo was not too happy, y'all. So after the room assignments, they go back downstairs for food, and almost immediately, they start going off in groups. Marlo's talking to Portia that she's heard about the room situation. So Portia invites Marlo to her room, and one by one, a bunch of them start getting up. Shamia, Tanya, who else was in there? It was Shamia, Tanya, Portia, Marlo. I think that was it. Yeah. So they all end up in Portia's room, which meant that Candy, Cynthia, Latoya, and Kenya were left at the table. So each of these groups were basically having a conversation about the same exact thing. They were talking about the incident with Latoya and Drew that took place earlier that night. And Drew seems to think Latoya is just effed up and rude, which I agree, she is. Oh, Fallon. Fallon was in the room too. Now back to what I was saying. And while at the dinner table, Candy and everyone else is explaining to Latoya that you cannot just get in people's personal space. And apparently Latoya is just finding this out. So her excuse is that she's Trini, she's from the Caribbean, and they're very touchy-feely. Girl, let me tell you something. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm Jamaican. Wagwan. But I don't like to be touched. Especially by someone I don't like. So you gonna have to go somewhere with that excuse. Next. So Shamia makes the observation that everyone in the room is the nieces of the house, and everyone by the table are the aunties of the house. Portia thinks that it is a state of mind and not the age that makes you niece or auntie. And I have to agree with Portia, because I saw Marlo's old behind sitting up there kiki with the girls, acting like she was one of the young folk. But Portia cleared that up for us. Thanks for the explanation, Portia. They're also talking about Marlo getting the room that she got. And Kenya saying, listen, when you insult the host, you get the shit room. And Marlo thinks that Kenya is just a hater. She hates her. This is not fun shade anymore. And she is sort of getting a little bit emotional about it. Marlo is kind of showing a softer side this episode that I've never seen, because I know Marlo cuts. But I don't know, Marlo. Did somebody promise you a peach if you became more likable? I don't know, Marlo. I don't know what this was. I'm not sure I like it. Let me see for one more episode, and let me tell you if I like it next week. All right? But Marlo decides she's not taking that little itty bitty room without a view, without no balcony, without no jacuzzi tub, without the works. She's not taking that little itty bitty room, and she's going to make the living room her brand new room. She even enlists Fallon to help her rearrange furniture so she could make the living room into her bedroom, because she's not taking that. So Kenya then tells everyone the activities that are going to be happening the following day, and they all go off to bed. The next morning they get up, and first person in the kitchen is Kenya. She's making breakfast for Brooklyn, and of course she's disturbing Marlo because Marlo's bedroom is now right next to the kitchen. So everyone, flows into the kitchen one by one. And that's when Shamia explains to Candy who the aunties of the house are versus the nieces. And aunties are aunties because they're more uptight. They have issues with everything, and they don't like the good old turn up. So Candy is like, listen, if it means I'm an auntie because I don't want to go knocking over lamps and getting in fights, and I'll be an auntie, that's fine with me. Candy is not here for the turn up. She said when that glass broke off that table and I was acting a fool last night, I was looking around like, oh, somebody's gonna step on a glass. And that is such an auntie thing to do, I swear. Sometimes you wish and hope and pray that you're gonna be young forever and you don't want to turn into your parents, and then boom, you're asking who left the light on, who is in the refrigerator too long. Like it's like almost overnight. You're like, who said that? Like Portia, who said that? While breakfast is going on, some are calling their loved ones. Drew calls Ralph to tell him about the incident that occurred between her and Latoya. And Ralph was all ears because he wanted to know what's all going on with his brand new crushes that he got. And even though I give him a lot of he was being supportive on the phone, so wasn't too much of him in this episode. So we're just gonna let Raph slide this week, guys. Round of applause. Moving on. So meanwhile, over in Candy's room, Candy and Marlo are having a heart-to-heart. No, it wasn't Candy's room. It was Marlo's room that she now turned. Marlo turned her room, in her assigned room, into her dressing room and have the living room as her bedroom. So now Candy and her are in her old bedroom, now new dressing room, having a heart-to-heart about the fact that Marlo really feels as if Kenya just does not like her. Marlo starts to get emotional, starts to get a little teary-eyed talking to Candy, and she's saying she doesn't even know if how she's feeling is worth having a conversation with Kenya because, you know, this has been going on for years and she just doesn't think it's going to stop. So Candy tells her she does think it's worth having a conversation because you're clearly feeling some type of way, and that alone should tell you that we should talk about it. And on another corner of the house, Portia and Shamia are by the pool, and Shamia asks Portia how is the relationship going with Dennis, and Portia pulls out her phone, honey. And Shamia goes through her and Dennis's text. Dennis is saying all the right things. Dennis is saying, I love you, I want to marry you, I want to work on my family. Let's not do this back and forth thing. Let's just be together and fight it out through thick and thin. He is saying all the right text, sending all the right texts, about 150 of them texts. And at the end of it, Portia said, thank you. And Shamia was over here flabbergasted. So one of the last texts that Dennis sent was to say, can we go on a date this weekend or this Saturday? And Portia was like, because she didn't answer the text. So Shamia had the phone in her hand. So she gets up, gets her feet out of the pool, and starts running so she could answer yes to the text on behalf of Portia, because she's over here in love with Dennis on behalf of Portia because of the text she's reading. So that was kind of funny to see. Portia even tells her, you're not supposed to run by the pool. It's not safe. It is funny to see them two together. I wish I could see a lot more of Shamia, but you know, I don't know that. We'll talk later. So now at this point in the day, everyone has been drinking and everyone is starving like Marvin. And Kenya goes and she orders food for herself. A sandwich, one crab cake, and a couple of banana splits. Now, everyone is looking at her like, where's the rest of the food? Where's our food? You're a bad host. You're a terrible host. How dare you invite us on a trip and not feed us? So Portia's telling everyone, listen, there's food in the fridge. They're looking in the fridge. They're seeing like deli meats, things they gotta cook. You know, stuff that these girls are not used to being on a trip. Marlo's complaining that she would have guys rubbing their feet and fanning them. Everyone is complaining about something. And Kenya proceeds to eat her food in front of everyone. And you know who's the maddest about it? Other than Tanya's hungry. I'm trying not to curse. Has it been working? Drop down in the comments and tell me if you heard me curse more or less in 2021. So, Candy is big man. Everyone knows. Anytime you see Candy on camera and there's food around, she's finna be eating. Candy likes to eat and has no shame in her game when it comes. Candy is not one of these Hollywood broads. Candy is from Atlanta, where the homegrown looks like boom, bump, pow. Like, Candy is not playing with this food, and she is mad about that crab cake. You hear me? Mad. So I guess she feels bad enough after everyone is attacking her about ordering food for herself, and she decides to share and basically give everyone scraps. She gives some fries in their hands. I think that was Shamia, and she gives Tanya half of her crab cake or something. I don't even know. But that was rude and annoying. And we see a preview of next week's episode where you're going to do something rude again. But I don't even know what it is. But Candy's the one telling you it was rude. And she usually is the voice of reason. So I'm going to go ahead and say you were rude already. But let's get back to this week's episode. So Cynthia and Candy are sitting by the pool. And I want to say someone else was there. But Kenya was there originally, but she walked off. So Cynthia and Candy are sitting by the pool, and Latoya shows up bearing booze and a bag. So she comes to the pool and she sits down and she tells the ladies that in this bag, I have a brand spanking new wig that I got for Drew, and I'm going to give it to her. It is pre-plucked. It is, we're going to get it right on her head. It's going to be tacked down, gelled down, glued down, edges swooped, on fleek. And I'm going to brush it out and give it to her. And right away, immediately, everyone is like, no. Cynthia's like, this is not going to go well. Don't do it. Candy's like, nope. Don't think that's a good idea. Abort mission. And Latoya doesn't want to hear it. So she walks off with her bag in tow because she plans on giving this wig to Drew. At the same time, Kenya shows up and Cynthia and Candy tells her that that's a wig in the bag. So Kenya even tries to stop her. But at this point, she was already far gone. So they let it be. Later on that night, they all go downstairs for food again. By this time, they're all changed and dressed up nicely, and they meet downstairs for dinner. They're all getting drinks, and they all make themselves a plate. Portia is grossed out because there's a whole roasted pig, and she is now vegan. But we know Portia's tried this vegan thing once or twice before, so come on back, girl. But no press. So Candy is loving every bit of it. Candy said when she saw that her eyes popped out of her head like cartoons and went boyoyoyoyong, Candy was in food heaven. Candy was loving every bit of it. Candy was not waiting to go get her a plating. While at the table, Kenya calls Tanya spoiled because earlier in the night, Tanya asked the chef to make her a plate because she didn't want to fool around, digging around in that pig. And Kenya calls her spoiled because she felt like she was entitled for doing that. But that argument got quickly shut down because the argument that came and knocked that one out of the park was when Latoya brings up Drew's wig at the table while Drew is there. She tries to apologize. She tries to apologize backhandedly, talking about, oh, I'm sure you heard about the situation with the wig and how it was bad and it wasn't glued down and it wasn't right and it wasn't plucked. And even Portia had to say, you can't apologize and try to do it that way. So then she's like, okay, well, I apologize, and the part I did wrong was not saying it to your face and instead like kikiing about it behind your back. So she says, as a nice gesture, I want to offer you a wig and I want to get it styled for you and make sure it's set right and down right and all of that. And Drew was like, no, keep your wig. I have access to top stylists, honey. I don't need your charity. And she shut that down. So then Drew says, I have something for you. And Drew gets up from the table. While she got up, again, Latoya clowns her outfit because that's just Latoya. She hadn't apologized 3 minutes earlier and already she has something to say. So Drew comes back and she's holding something in her hands. And she said, listen, the first time you saw me, Miss Latoya, you said you hated me because I played this person on the game. And what that made me realize is you have been watching me. You have been my #1 fan. You have been looking at this career and paying attention and hopefully taking notes. So what I'm going to do for you is what I do for fans. And what I do for fans is I sign autographs. Latoya Drew pulls out that picture, signs her autograph to her biggest fan, Latoya, and hands it over. The whole table gets up and applaud Miss Drew for the comeback. Miss Drew got herself a spine. Miss Drew did that. And, everyone loved it. And I was here for it, bitch. So after everyone claps it up, Drew gives a lesson after the read. Drew says, listen, in my circle of friends, we tell each other stuff like this. If you don't like something, you say that to me. So after Drew says that, Marlo chimes in because she is compelled to let Kenya know that that room situation, giving her the smallest room, really hurt her feelings to her core. And Kenya rolls her eyes. She's not here for Marlo's antics. And she says, Kenya goes, You trash me every chance you get, Marlo. And Marlo interrupts and says, well, what about your fake butt, your injections, your bad skin? Which, there's a plethora of things she says. So Marlo is there dumbfounded that Kenya is coming a little bit strong based on what she said, especially when she approached the situation from an emotional standpoint. And Kenya goes, my butt is not fake. Nothing is fake about that. You need to mind your own business. Pay attention to your own life. Kenya tells Marlo to worry about her own shit. And Marlo gets up and leaves the table. That's where the episode ended. And guys, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your other friends, tell your enemies, send a Facebook message, an Instagram, a Twitter, WhatsApp, TikTok, whatever it is. Get more followers over here. Thank you and good night. Bye.